All right, I'm gonna try and do this as best I can in one take, but I wanna go ahead and explain the final project, part two, which is a set of field notes. So you guys are gonna get this packet in class. If you're not there on Monday when I pass it out to everybody, there will be copies in there, as I may not be in the room every single day of this week. I want you guys to pick this up and you can go ahead and get started. I'm gonna explain each piece individually, but please refer to this video if you ever have questions first. If there's something in the video that I do not answer for you, then you can go ahead and ask me, but I promise you most of your questions will be answered by this video and this video alone, all right? So, on the very front cover, you have a large box to draw your fish. That is the very first thing you need to do. It can be a similar drawing to the one that you did on part one. I mean, you can literally see that on my part one assignment, they are almost the same thing, just scaled up. That's all it has to be, nothing crazy. But I need you to please put your common name or common names if there's several. A lot of fish have several common names that are used by different places, different countries, different regions. Please list any of those common names that you find, and then you need your scientific name. Now, as a reminder, your scientific name is both genus and species. You have one single genus name and one single species name. There is not any other way to put that. Have your genus, have your species. If you're having trouble identifying which exactly is the species name, you are more than welcome to ask, and I'm more than welcome to clear that up for you. But that is one place I do not want you to lose points. It is completely a waste of your time to lose points on something that can be fixed in a matter of seconds. I promise, it's that easy. I then want you to put your name on the bottom. That's it, front page done. This is super simple. Now, with this next page, you're moving on to a little bit of the biological information. You need your average height and weight, which you got with your part or your weight range. You got this with part one of your assignment, and then you move into a little bit of their specific description. Every single fish is listed in some way for whatever their conservation status is, ranging from least concerned over to extinct. Most of the time when you look it up, you'll see this right here. If the specific conservation status is not on this scale, please talk to me and we can get that figured out. But I just want you to color in the circle of what they are, being either least concerned, near threatened, vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the wild, and extinct. If you're doing an extinct fish, I don't know what the hell you're doing. But then you have common prey, common predators. I think you can figure out what you need to do there. Most fish eat more than one specific thing. They are specialists. Okay, that's great. You can go ahead and make that clear, but don't just put one thing and be done with it. Most fish eat several different things. Same thing for predators. Most are not eaten by only one organism, but if they're small, perhaps that's the case. If you can't find specific fish, as it says just larger fish or something like that, that's okay. That suffices for that. You then have habitat. Habitat is going to be the place in the ocean that they live, whether that's kelp forests, open water, deep ocean, coral reefs, intertidal pools, whatever the case is. I need you to put what that habitat is, not just ocean. We're dealing with ocean fish here. Everybody knows that. And for instance, for the ocean sunfish, the mola mola, habitat is just open ocean. That's just where they live. They don't live in any kind of reef habitat. It's just the open ocean. You then have depth range, super straightforward. Some of them you'll actually see that they live in specific zones. You can see what those zone ranges are. For the mola mola, it goes from the surface down to around 200 plus meters. That suffices for your depth range. If you can tell me generally where we can find them in the ocean with depth in meters, great, you're doing awesome. Then for range, I want you to look at this very closely. So, for your range, you're gonna have this map on in your field notes. When you have this, I just want you to color in the places that they're found. If you type in your organism and range or range map, you'll find something that looks similar to this. I only need you to color where they're found. Most of the times that's the darker colors, but if you read your map that you find online, that should make it pretty clear for you. If you're having trouble understanding what your map is saying, speak to me. We can get it figured out nice and easy, I promise. If it's in only one specific area, okay, that's fine. An endemic species works great. You can still do that. You just have to make sure it's obvious what's being shown. So please don't use gray on this. Use some color that makes it clear what's going on. You then have your taxonomic breakdown. You all know this by now, running from kingdom to species. Please make sure that your species name is only one specific name. Please don't put, for Mola mola, don't put M.mola for species, even though that's what it says on Wikipedia. The M dot is just the genus Mola. So please just put Mola as shown here. By the way, this whole entire packet will be available for you in class. You can look at the example if you want to refer to anything that's being shown in this video and study it up close. Then on this page, you're going to be drawing some different behaviors. I need 2 feeding behaviors and 2 unique or special behaviors for that organism specifically. If you're having trouble finding data on your fish, I'd suggest changing it. I know I said you can't change it, but hopefully most of you picked fish that are relatively easy to find. And if you didn't, then it needs to be changed so you can find these. So you have to draw those behaviors, as always, or these pictures. Everything that's drawn in here needs to be colored. You don't have to color all your backgrounds, but the specific drawings themselves need to be colored. For every single behavior that you have here, you draw your behavior and then you give a small description of it. Those have to be in complete sentences. Anything written as "it's eating," that's not going to suffice. I need a full complete sentence. You all know what a complete sentence looks like by now. Please make sure that you have that for every description. All right? So you have 4 behaviors that I need you to find. Then on the next page, you're going to be talking about the fry or fish, young fish. Fry is just the word we use to describe them. Depending on how well known or well studied your species is, you might find some clear pictures. Otherwise, you might not. But if you truly cannot find a picture of that specific organism's fry, you can say unknown and then describe that over here. That's okay. But most of the time, you should be able to find a depiction of that fry, or at least something very close to it, and that'll work just fine. You then have to find what its length of time spent as a fry is. Sometimes that's a couple months, sometimes that's a full year. For instance, for the Mola mola, we don't even know how long it spends as a fry, but we do know how long it takes to become an adult, so 15 months. That works for this answer. If you can tell me how long it takes to become an adult, great, you're doing awesome, you're answering the question, that's what I need from you. You then have the fry predators. It's just what eats that fry. As the fry is a lot smaller, bigger fish, the fish that would eat the adult, won't always be eating the fry. There are specific fish that sometimes go after fish fry. That's what you're looking for in this question. And then I just need a drawing of the fish in its natural habitat. If that habitat is like a coral reef, let's say, I need to see that is in the coral reef just to describe it. But that picture also comes with a description of what their role is in their natural habitat. Some are apex predators and they keep everything else in check. The Mola mola, for example, I wrote, the Mola mola is a predator of small prey items lower on the food web. They are a food source for large apex predators, and they do not provide a specific service for their ecosystem. I need you to describe what exactly they do for the ecosystem they live in. That's what matters for this question. Smaller fish, for instance, might be cleaners. They might clean parasites from larger fish, something like that. That's what I'm looking for with this section right here. I then move on to wild interactions with humans. That's self-explanatory. Just describe the way that these fish interact with humans, if at all, or how we interact with them. For instance, the Mola mola is a very large fish that's docile, doesn't pose any threat to people. That's what I'm getting across with this description. I do mention, however, that they are dangerous to boats and boaters as they can damage the boat and we can damage the fish, but overall, no real threat toward humans. That's our interaction. Some fish, like the sports fish like marlin or tuna or swordfish, those are sports fish, for instance, that can work just fine. Okay, this is the last page. This is all writing from here, so this is probably the most intensive page of this entire packet. But there's 3 questions for you. The first one is, has this fish been brought into captivity? If so, where can it be seen? If not, why hasn't it? Straightforward, self-explanatory, you know what you need to do, read that question, answer it, you know exactly what needs to be done. I am giving you more than enough space to write the description that I'm looking for, but not every single line has to be filled. It's okay if you can't fill up the whole entire thing, but please make sure you're not just writing a few words and that's it. I know you can actually fill this up. I know you can do more than, the lazy part of your brain wants to. So please put that effort in. Then you have, does their lifespan change in captivity? If that fish was in captivity, then you can go ahead and describe what those changes are. If the fish was never in captivity, you can talk about this fish has not been brought into captivity. We don't know if there are lifespan changes. There's different ways to say no or we have no answer. Please make sure you're using that full description like I just stated. Last two questions, there's four, I said three, my bad. But second to last question, would this fish be safe to approach as a defenseless human swimming in the ocean? Why or why not? Again, self-explanatory. The mola mola, for example, this is not a harmful fish. It is docile. It does not pose any threat to people. So yes, it would be safe to approach. Other fish, for instance, like the marlin or swordfish or any predatory fish, you could describe that maybe it's not as safe. However, don't just think it's only the big fish are dangerous and the small fish are not. Small fish, such as damselfish, can be dangerous to approach as they're very territorial. That's why you need to look up what your fish can do to people, how we interact with them. So if you learn about the interactions with people, you learn if it's safe to approach as a defenseless human. Because most of the time, you are defenseless swimming in the ocean. Don't forget that. Last question, are there current conservation efforts to protect this fish? Why or why not? If you remember at the beginning, I had you put the conservation status of your fish. That conservation status is going to come back into this question. There are certain fish that there are movements to actually protect them, to create new methods of conserving their populations. That's what this question is asking. The mola mola, for instance, doesn't have any specific conservation efforts. However, it's common bycatch when fishermen are going out for large pools of tuna, for instance. So it has some efforts, but not specifically for the fish. So my answer reads, there are no active conservation efforts to protect mola mola. It is frequent bycatch, but nothing is done specifically to help this fish. Simple, straightforward. I'm not asking that much of you, but please make sure you actually do more than just no. I don't want to see just a simple no. You can just explain yourself a little more eloquently. Last thing that you have to do is that I ask for 5 sources in this project. If you want to use one of Wikipedia, that's okay. However, Wikipedia is going to likely be your last resource for this, as there are several aquarium sites. There are building your own aquarium sites. You can go to National Geographic, and there are a bunch of other fact sites for your fish. If you list what those sites are for me, then that'll work just fine. I think that's everything that I'm asking of you. But really the big thing is, for this project, please make sure that your drawings are done with care, done with effort. And that's going to make this a lot easier for you. What I will say is, before you start this, I would go ahead and look at all the questions. Make sure you have information to actually put in for those, as if you chose a really rare species that we don't know too much about, you might have trouble actually filling this in, and you can switch your fish before you actually write it all and then have to scrap it and do it again. That's going to save you a lot of time. You have the whole week to work on this, and I believe that's everything that I needed to show you. If there's anything else, I'll talk about it in class. Otherwise, please make sure you get this done. This is the last thing that you have to do for a grade in my class. And I just want to round out the year nice and easy with you guys. All right? Great. I'll see you today.